Lau.
Yeah. Yeah. Says add image or add video. Add image or video. Yeah.
It's 1 o'clock.
I was just going to ask if we're going to get a cue to begin, but I'll go ahead and begin then. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Community Development Board, which is called to order at 1 p.m. on October 14th, 2020. For those who've got microphones on, I hear a lot of background noise, but you can hear me. But I'll continue on. To ensure the public safety and comply with the Governor's Safer at Home order in response to the COVID-19 virus, the Clearwater Community Development Board is holding a public meeting using communications media technology. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members physically present or in any specific location, and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by section 120.545B2 of the Florida statutes. This meeting is being held through the Zoom platform and broadcast live on the city's website at https://www.myclearwater.com/government/council-meeting-streaming-videos and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/myclearwater, as well as the following public access TV channels: Spectrum Channel 638, Frontier Channel 30, and WOW Channel 15. If you want to participate in today's meeting and are not requesting party status, you may either call in to 562-4646 and be placed on air to speak to an individual item, or like any other CDB meeting, like any community development board meeting, you may provide public comment at the main library, council chambers, 100 North Osceola Avenue. We're going to continue on with our meeting now by beginning with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. This board consists of 7 members and 1 alternate who are appointed by the City Council and serve voluntarily. I am Michael Butskas, and I will introduce the other members, the board attorney and city staff, and ask they each acknowledge they are present and they can see the video feed and hear the meeting. I'll begin with Vice Chairman Anaskevich.
I'm Chris Anaskevich. I can see the video and hear the meeting.
Very good. Brian Barker.
I'm present and I can hear and see the meeting.
Jordan Behar.
Present, I can see and hear.
Mike Flannery.
I'm present and I can see and hear the meeting.
Mary Lau.
I'm present and I can see and hear the meeting.
John Quattrocki.
It sounds off.
His sound is off.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, can hear you now.
Yeah, I'm here and I can see and hear.
Excellent. Is Ms. Van Scoik with us, our alternate member?
She's resigned.
Okay. Next would be Jay Daniel, the attorney for the Community Development Board.
I'm here and I can see and hear the meeting.
And then Mike Fuino, the attorney for the city.
Good afternoon, I can see and hear.
And Gina Clayton, our planning and development director.
Good afternoon, I can see and hear. Thank you.
Thank you. If you're attending in city council chambers, please remember to turn off your cell phones so they do not become a distraction during the meeting. To ensure a complete record of this board's actions, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone clearly, state their name, and spell their name for the clerk. Our first order of business today is to review the minutes from last month's meeting. They've been circulated prior to the meeting. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved. This is
Who was that?
Jordan Bay.
Do I have a second?
This is Mary Lau, a second.
Second from Mary Lau. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? Later on, we'll do the meeting by roll call vote, any votes by roll call vote, but for the minutes, I figured that would be fairly straightforward. Continuing on, next order of business is citizens to be heard on items not on the agenda. Is there anyone on the phone wishing to speak to an item not on the agenda? Okay. Is there anyone in council chambers wishing to speak to an item that is not on today's agenda? Your mic is off in there, but since you shook your head, I'm assuming that was a no. Very good, thank you. Okay, we'll now move on to the regular agenda. There are two types of cases that can be heard today, quasi-judicial and legislative. Today's agenda has a quasi-judicial case, a level 2 case on our agenda, and I'll begin with the outlining procedures for that type of matter. All level 2 cases, such as flexible development, are considered quasi-judicial hearings. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the Community Development Board reviews the application, the staff report, correspondence, and all evidence presented today, and makes a final decision subject to appeal. This board has previously qualified all of the city staff who will testify as experts in their areas of professional training, education, and experience. The list of city staff experts and their resumes are on the handbook located in chambers. Any other professionals who desire to be qualified as an expert witness were required to submit a resume by 5 p.m. 3 business days before the meeting to the assigned planner. These resumes were provided to the board in advance of the meeting, and the board shall determine whether or not to qualify the person as an expert and in what field of study. At the beginning of each level 2 case, I will ask that anyone who requested party status by 5 p.m. 3 business days prior to the meeting to join the meeting and state your reasons. Party status may be granted if the person requesting such status demonstrates that he or she is a substantially affected person, and the board will then determine whether or not to grant party status. The cases will then proceed as follows. Request for party status, presentation by planning and development staff, 10 minutes, presentation by the applicant, 10 minutes, presentation by persons with party status, 5 minutes per party. Cross-examination of witnesses by planning and development staff, 5 minutes maximum. Cross-examination of witnesses by applicant, 5 minutes maximum. And cross-examination of witnesses by persons with party status, 5 minutes maximum. Comments by the public, 3 minutes per person. And a reminder to anyone who wants to make comments, you should call 562-4646 when the case starts. At the time of public comment, you will be placed on the air. Closing remarks will then follow by the planning and development staff, 3 minutes. Closing remarks by the persons granted party status, 3 minutes, and closing remarks by the applicant, 3 minutes. And then we will close the public hearing and have a discussion and vote by the board. As a reminder today, anyone in attendance who plans to speak to an agenda item will need to be sworn in by the clerk prior to speaking. For today's meeting, this will be done at the beginning of each case, after it has been read into the record. Persons providing public comment by phone will be sworn in individually. And to ensure that you have been sworn in for the record, we ask that each individual wishing to speak, including the applicant, speak into the microphone, clearly state your name and spell your last name for the clerk, and also affirm that you have been sworn in prior to starting your testimony or comments. On our agenda today is level 2 case. It is case number FLD 2020-07017 at 524 Mandalay. The owner is Tima Investments LLC. The representative is Roberta Clark, and is located in the northwest corner of Mandalay Avenue and Ambler Street, and we're reviewing a proposed rooftop addition to an existing building in the tourist district. Does anybody have, has anybody made a request for party status prior to today's meeting?
No, they have not.
Okay. Is there anybody in chambers who is requesting party status? Seeing nobody approaching the microphone, it's not appear that we have anybody who's requested party status. We'll continue on then with the procedures of the case. I'd like the clerk to swear everybody in who will be testifying. Those of you who are in chambers to testify, please rise, and hopefully we can see you on the camera, as well as anybody who will be on Zoom, on the Zoom. Pat?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the entire truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll begin now with presentations by staff, and who's going to be presenting today? Mr. Farino, while they're getting ready for that, do you want to do your typical?
Mr. Cadu, and I was just waiting for him to get up there. But I would ask the board to accept Mr. Cadu as an expert on the matters he's about to testify on.
So move. This is Chris Anaskevich.
Second, Jordan Behar.
Motion made and seconded to accept Mr. Perdue as an expert. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Good afternoon. Please proceed.
I'm Vinod Kadu, Planning and Development. Good afternoon, everyone. The case before the board today is FLD 2020-07017 at 524 Mandalay Avenue for Sakushi Restaurant. The site is 0.199 acres located at the intersection of Mandalay and Amler Street. It is zoned as tourist, and future land use is tourist resort facilities high. Yes, resort facilities high. The subject property is located in destination resort district of Beach by Design. And the development proposal is to add an open air rooftop deck to an existing restaurant building. With a change of use from nightclub to restaurant with 45 additional seats, outdoor seats, and along with an ADA lift at the rear. The project is proposing 24 feet height and 5 parking spaces with request in flexibility for setback requirements and parking. The existing height of the building is 13.4 feet and the proposed height of the building is 24 feet. In the design proposal, there are 2 proposed new staircases, one in front and one at the rear. The one at the rear actually reduces 1 parking space, which is converted into a landscape island with a shade tree and ground cover, which also gets the site in compliance with impervious surface ratio. The restaurant has an existing outdoor patio seating on the sidewalk, and the proposed roof plan has a 60-inch, which is roughly 5 feet of high art wall that would reduce the noise from the restaurant guest area and to the neighbors to the north. The staff is recommending approval with conditions of approval of no microphone usage or amplified music and a valid outdoor cafe permit. The staff will be happy to answer any questions of board members. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go further, I failed to bring up, and should have been me that I should have brought up earlier, but I do have what we perceive the conflict on this, and I have filled out the form and submitted, so I will not be voting on this matter. I did check, and I don't see an issue with me running the meeting, but I won't be voting when it comes time, and the forms were filled out and sent into the clerk. So continuing on, we've heard the presentation by staff. Does anybody from the board have any questions for staff?
Mr. Chair, I do, if I may. I didn't see a north building elevation in the package. Is there a wall going on the north side between the condos there, or is that just a roof structure that's open to the north side?
There is.
You can kind of see it.
Yes, there is an art wall over there. Can you see my cursor over here?
Yes.
So that's a 5 feet, which is 60-inch high art wall, which the applicant has proposed to reduce the noise from the restaurant area towards the neighbors to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions of staff?
This is Chris Anaskevich. I just had a question about that wall myself as well. Is that are we thinking it'll be a concrete wall, a CMU wall? Do you have any details on it?
I would defer that question to the applicant.
Okay.
Chris, hold on to that question when we have the applicant do their presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions that we have from the board for staff? Seeing none, next order is the applicant for
Thank
its
you.
presentation. Someone would need to turn the microphone on in the chambers. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roberta Clark. I'm architect and owner of Clark & Clark Architects. I'm the architect on the project. With me today is Frank Manella, and Frank is the owner and operator of Sakushi. Robert Pergolese with Gulf Coast Consulting is our land development consultant. Also here with us today is Kevin Hazlett, Frank's attorney. So as a team, we agree with all of the conditions. We're getting feedback here, so.
Yeah, they're getting feedback. Is everybody muted? Looks like everybody's muted.
It looks like everybody was muted, but we're still getting some feedback.
Okay. It's okay. We're still getting the feedback, but I'll continue. We agree with all the conditions of the staff report, all the conditions of approval. So what I'd like to do is have Frank Manella come up next and talk a little bit more about the expansion of his restaurant. And then later on, we'll be asking any more questions, and there might be some similar questions. And so we'll go ahead and see what the questions are, and then we'll answer all your questions at once. Frank?
No, there's still feedback. No?
Well, we didn't have this problem last time.
Hello? How about now? Can everyone hear me?
Good.
That was much better. Let's continue then.
Can you
Go
hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Frank Manella. I'll thank everybody for coming here, the board and Roberta Carr and the staff and everybody.
Would you spell your last name, please?
First of all, I live here since 1999 in the beach area. This is my home, my family's home. When we first bought the Cork and Brew, it was brought under a nightclub, which we never had.
Excuse me, let me
intentions
interrupt you for
of
just a moment.
nightclub. We're a family-safe business, family restaurant, and it's a great environment. And we put our heart and soul into it. So even during COVID, we still kept most of our staff paid on salary. We stayed open. We never closed. We found out that we had a tremendous takeout business in North Beach, Island Estates, as far as Bel Air as well too. And we serve a lot of locals. Obviously, Clearwater Beach is a tourist area, which is great. But 80% of our business is locals. We support the local community. We do a lot of charity out of there, blood drives. We raise over $4,000 for Big Brothers and Big Sisters out of the restaurant. We have a clean, safe family restaurant, which we're very proud of. And with COVID being as bad as it is, patio seating has become such a survival point in this business, as well as you know. 70% of the restaurants nationwide have closed permanently. We're trying to open, create more jobs, and serve the community in a tasteful manner. We're not a nightclub. We're never going to be a nightclub. We want to just be an addition to enhance the families and community in our area in a tasteful manner, and as well as to survive. So the addition of the patio seating, that's why we're doing this, is to survive. And it's a clean atmosphere. When it's busy at night, people come to our restaurant, they'll drive all the way up from Bel Air. If there's a wait list for the patio, they leave and go somewhere else. We lose their business. So it's so imperative that we could get this done and do it in the right way to where it's tastefully done and provide more of a family, safe, clean atmosphere for this community and the families around us. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
We'll go through all the applicants' presentation and cover questions on the back end. Was there anything else from the applicant?
Actually, at this time, there really is no other questions. Again, I just wanted to repeat that once all the questions kind of arise, then we'll answer questions when you see fit for us to answer the questions. Thank you.
Very good. I think Mr. Anaskevich had a question from the prior presentation. Chris, you want to proceed?
Yes, I was wondering if the applicant has any more detail on the wall that's on the north side of the patio.
So we haven't developed the plans right now, but certainly we want to add as much acoustic treatment as possible on it. It's probably not going to be a concrete block wall, just due to the fact that, you know, that's really not the way to construct something up there. We don't have block to adhere to, but you know, and the height can vary too. I mean, we've set it at 60, thinking that we were going to be blocking everything in terms of the window that's adjacent. But so I mean, there's really twofold. We talked about an art wall. We actually talked about, you know, something decorative on the more frankly on both sides, because we're going to develop the aesthetic component on the Sakushi side, but then also on the condominium side, that there be some sort of artistic component as well. So the height is a variable, and we can make that higher. And then certainly, to the best of our knowledge, on acoustic treatments to that wall. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. One follow-up question as well. What are the hours of operation for the restaurant? How late are they open?
Right now, they have shorter hours, but it's really Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday till 10 or till no. Go ahead, Frank. Why don't you tell?
Monday through Thursday off season, we're open till 9 o'clock, and on Friday and Saturday it's till 10.
Okay, thank you.
We're not really a late night destination, because again, it's a lot of friends and family and neighbors. That's pretty much the hours off season right now. Our intentions are not to be a late night destination. That's not our business. That's not our clientele.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board for the applicant?
This is Mary Lau. I have just a short question. Could one of you discuss a little bit about what you envision for lighting on that deck?
Sure, I can answer that, Mary. Again, we haven't developed it fully, but certainly there's a concern for lighting. But in terms of just the ambiance, we wanted low-level lighting. And certainly there are
the volume control
that are called cutoff fixtures, and you can direct light almost in any direction that we see fit. So certainly they would have cutoff fixtures, and there's actually a section in the code, and we've read through that. We're all aware of not being, allowing light to transfer over to adjacent properties. So everything is going to be downward focused. And then certainly we'll need path lighting up there and some ambient and safety lighting. But the intention is not to create anything that is shining up or onto adjacent properties.
Thank you.
Is there any other question from any member of the board for the applicant? Not seeing any, then the board has been provided with written comments that were submitted to the assigned planner by 5 p.m. yesterday. We received a couple of emails today. Hopefully all the board members received them today and yesterday, as well as comments that were in the packet itself. Is there anyone in attendance in council chambers that would like to provide public comment on this matter? Was my mic working there or not? Thanks.
We're from Clearwater Beach Suites.
Come on up. Do you want to speak to the?
Mike, you got something?
Sure.
Yeah, I can say something.
Please make sure that you state your name and let us know whether you were sworn in or not.
Okay. Hi, how are you? My name is Michael Higdon. That's Higdon. I am the president of Clearwater Beach Suites. We are north of the reference location that we're discussing today. We have already had issues from our owners with noise. And as it's mentioned today, which I never even thought about, it has not been an issue, but it could likely be an issue, is the lighting. Someone mentioned their survey. I do have a survey of our property, and I have it here, which I can provide to you. I also took pictures, which I have here. I can show you in the pictures where from the wall of the building that we're talking about to our upstairs walkway is 18 inches. I will repeat that, it's 18 inches. Our condo is very unique. We also have a hotel and a motel license. We operate on a daily rental. Unlike most condos where you have to comply with a 30-day or more rental, we are doing daily rentals, just like a hotel or a motel. So I trust you all understand the value of algorithms in our business. When an owner gets a complaint, it could easily move them from the first page of that advertisement where we advertise with Airbnb and HomeAway and a number of others. It can move them from the first page to the 4th page or the 16th page. So this is critical to our business. I heard a gentleman say earlier, I believe it was the first gentleman that spoke to you. He just said, we're just trying to survive. We're just trying to survive. And this is not a way for our survival, particularly anything with the potential of negative reviews. It's not just about our owners. We're independently owned by each unit. Our owners make considerable contribution to their units. We're very unique in that we have 2 bedrooms, we have 1 bedrooms, we have a lot that no one else can offer in terms of the sleeping and so forth. We have children right there in the bedroom, right next to this restaurant. I used to own that unit. The unit number is 201. I'm still a unit owner, but I don't have that one. And I can tell you personally, I have had noise issues prior to this establishment. But I do want to emphasize to you again, the issue with the revenue, with the negative algorithm that could result from this. It's not just about our owners. What's more important to me, and I would trust is more important to you, is the many visitors that come to our beach. We support the beach in a lot of ways. We're members of the chamber. and we support the community. But our guests are the ones that come there, and they come there, travel from all over the United States, and we have international guests. And the last thing they need is a conflict from the place where they're going to be living during that stay. So I solicit you today to please take in consideration how this could result in the problem where when you presented the picture, there's no way you can take a picture of this establishment in the growth and the expansion that they're trying to create without showing the picture of our building, because we're so close to this establishment. And again, I appreciate your time very much. Thank you.
Thank you for coming to speak today. Is there anybody else in chambers who want to speak on this matter from the public? Please approach.
Yes, one more.
Hello, testing. Okay. I'm also from Clearwater Beach Suites. I'm the secretary, Nathan Hines. That's Heinze. You need my address? So.
Yes, please.
Pardon? 327 Fountain View Circle, Oldsmar, Florida 34677 is my address. I want to echo what Mike said, and while I very much appreciate, I really do, your concerns. We also are trying to run a business. I have 2 units. One would be dramatically affected by the noise levels. The other wouldn't. But we have 6 units on the south side that would be literally within 5 feet of that establishment. And one of the unique aspects of our condos are that we have 2-bedroom units, and we get many, many families that stay with us, and they put their kids to bed early, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock sometimes. In fact, that's why people choose our suites over hotels. And that much noise that would be created would be highly, highly disruptive. And it's true what Mike said, we live or die based on our reviews on Airbnb and VRBO. And if you get a few negative reviews, all it takes is one saying there are noise issues. There's a rooftop restaurant right next to us, and that would destroy the business. I don't see how we could survive that if the noise isn't contained. And so those are just my huge concerns. I don't see how we survive that being the review-based organization that we are. So if that could be addressed in a more concrete fashion, no pun intended, I guess, that's my main concern, for our owners. It could be a deal killer for us as a business. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers who wish to speak on today's matter?
Yes.
Please state your name and
Good
spell your
afternoon.
name.
My name is Eric Waltz, ERICWALTZ. I am the general manager of the Sandport Resort on Clearwater Beach.
Were you sworn in?
Excuse me?
Were you sworn in?
Yes, I was sworn in. I just wanted to take a couple minutes to to talk about the concerns that we have as a business that's located directly across Ambler Street from Sakushi. Before I get started, I did want to talk about, the current Sakushi owners are great neighbors of ours. They use our facility. Quite frankly, one of them is probably our top guest that we have. So this is a little bit awkward to talk about. But at the same time, we do want to talk about some concerns that we have with a rooftop being located so close to our units. We are probably about 40 feet away from the 3rd floor room to where the rooftop unit would be that they want to expand to. I did read the staff notes, and there were some things in there that I was glad to see. Changing it from a nightclub into a restaurant, I think is very positive for the area. I think the declaration saying that there's not going to be any amplified music or live music was very beneficial for us as a resort. But I do think that there are things that we need to think about down the road. The gentleman just mentioned that the hours are going to be 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock out of season. But what happens when it's February or March and the rooftop unit is going to be a success, I think. What happens when the revenue starts talking and demanding at later hours of operation? My other concern is what happens down the road when it sells. Are we going to have a rooftop unit located 40 feet away from one of our guest rooms, from any of our guest rooms, that all of a sudden wants to stay open later, wants to, be a little louder. I'm fully confident current owners are going to make the right decision. Quite frankly, I spoke to one of them. He's willing to go to my rooms and put a noise meter in there and adjust the noise from their rooftop to our room, which I think was great to see. And I do believe that he would do that. My main concern, like I had said, is what's going to happen when it sells. And once we open this door, what are we going to be left with? So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers that wishes to speak on this matter?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Salem, S-A-L-E-M. I live at 501 Mandalay. I'm on the 5th floor. We currently have our property, we live in it 6 months out of the year. The other 6 months is rented out. We can say that we have beach views because half of the unit looking outwards, you can see the beach, and it's unfortunately right over the Sakushi restaurant. So by increasing the level by the other 24 feet, we will not be a beach view rental property anymore, and that will affect us in that manner. I just wanted to formally object and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in chambers who wish to speak on the matter today?
No.
Thanks. We do have 2 people on the phone. I believe the first caller to call in was Jeff Lynch. If somebody can unmute his mic so he can speak. And Mr. Lynch, you'll need to be sworn in since you're on the phone.
Yes, good afternoon.
You need to be sworn in, please. Mr. Lynch?
Go ahead, Pat.
Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give us the entire truth?
Mr. Lynch, we can't hear you.
Yes.
Thank you. You may go ahead and proceed with your comments.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Lynch, J-E-F-F-L-Y-N-C-H. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in front of the board. What I'd like to address, I'm also a homeowner at 501 Mandalay Avenue that will be adversely affected with a rooftop bar or rooftop. I always think of bar because that seems to be what we're building on the beach there. I strongly encourage the board to think about the hours of that this rooftop will be at, as well as the lighting. And I also want to encourage you to think about the precedent of rooftop bars will potentially adversely affect those that are living here and, quite frankly, pay a very nice tax for clear water. Thank you very much. Take the time.
Mr. Lynch, before you go away, there was some background noise that was making your microphone cut out a little bit. I'm going to ask the board members if they had any questions, if there was any part of it they couldn't hear, they wanted you to repeat. Is anybody able to understand his comments? All right, then we'll move on. Thank you, Mr. Lynch, for calling in today. Next caller.
Sorry, I was just going to say it was tough to hear in its entirety. I don't know how to, I mean, there aren't specific questions, but it definitely was a little bit jumbled.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, our next caller was Paul Von Felt. Mr. Von Felt, please, you'll need to be sworn in by Ms. Sullivan as well.
Mr. Von Felt, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give us the entire truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Von Felt.
So my name is Paul Von Felt, obviously. I own the business next door to this restaurant, which is at 516 Mandalay Avenue, Florida Beach Rentals. First off, I'd like to empathize with the hotels, especially Clearwater Beach Suites, with their issues that they're going to have with having a restaurant literally inches away or short feet away from this rooftop idea. I don't have any personal issues other than currently we have a horrible parking issue behind our building. Currently, I park almost all of my employees off-site wherever they can find parking, including paid parking. With the applicant, I've always had issues with shared parking out back. If he agrees to use his parking spot as that green space that is proposed for one of the parking spots, I have no issues. But if it comes into my parking, I have, of course, huge issue. We already have lots of parking issues and very difficult to park our employees and vehicles in the parking lot. In addition to that, we house the community garbage for both Sakushi and our establishment, which our establishment, of course, only produces paper, where theirs produces garbage, and you can imagine what the smell is back there from all that. So that would be my only issues that I have.
Sorry, I wasn't unmuting there for some reason. Thank you for your comments. Do we have any other callers? Okay. All right, so continuing on then, we've heard from the public and comment on this from both chambers and over the phone. Next is closing remarks by staff, followed by the applicant. Staff, have any closing remarks? Not seeing any. I'm just want to see if somebody can nod and confirm that there are no closing remarks from staff.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for staff. I don't know if this would be the time to bring it up.
Yeah, I could do it now. Let's see if the staff does have any closing remarks. Do you have any closing remarks?
None.
Okay, we do have a couple questions though. Mr. Anaskevich, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, does the city have any restrictions on the time of operation for this rooftop deck?
No, we don't have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any closing remarks by the applicant? Oh, Jordan, did you have a question? I'm sorry, before staff goes.
Yeah, thank you. Are there specific hours of operations for under the noise ordinances that this restaurant upstairs would be bound to?
No. Yeah, the noise ordinance applies to everybody, but there are no specific hours per se.
Okay, no set time. Also, are there any adjacencies within the code that limit the use of residential directly next to restaurant within the First District or resort facility?
No restrictions. There are no restrictions in the tourist district, yeah.
Okay. And lastly, is the parking situation, is this owned by one person, or is there specific assigned parking spaces within that were part of this? I see the parking analysis shows that it's going to rely on public parking, but are there specific covenants within the ownership that would dedicate spots to the adjacent business?
The applicant actually submitted a parking demand study, and the parking demand study satisfied both the office as well as the restaurant. And the rest of it, the restaurant showed that they are having the rest of the parking in within 1,000 feet, which is the North Beach parking garage.
Right.
So they are quite satisfied over there, but it's just that the whole allocation of parking spaces between tenants is between the owner and the tenants.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions for staff? From any of the board members?
Yes.
Mike, go ahead.
So is it possible to add a restriction on noise of that, say, after 10 o'clock? Is that something that can be added? I can understand with the parts, the hotel rooms next door that say after 10 o'clock, that could be a problem. It's right there. That would, and since they're saying they need it for extra room for things, is that something that could be added as a stipulation?
We have added a condition of approval of no mic usage outside and no amplified music, but the timing can be a condition from the board, right?
Yeah, our condition is flat out.
Yeah. The timing would be a condition from the board.
I mean,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Gina.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to look through the noise ordinance to see specifically what it says. We have a loud and raucous standard. We don't have a decibel standard. And so it's a reasonable person standard. So if noise is going beyond a certain distance of 100 feet or more, you know, after certain times for certain uses, then it's considered a problem. Yelling, shouting is one of the standards that if it creates what would be considered loud and raucous, it's not allowed between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. So my guess is with people talking and being loud, that would probably be a standard that we look for, and the police department is charged with responding to noise violation complaints. The city's code doesn't regulate the operation of hours for any use, so that's not something that you'll find in our staff report. And I think as the staff report indicated, the previous use of this site, it was agreement between the board and the applicant to limit the amplification. So we carried that forward from the previous approval, even though the use was a nightclub and not a restaurant.
Thanks, Gina. That's what I was familiar with, having been involved in a number of hospitality projects out there, is that after certain areas, at certain hours, I mean, unruly behavior or loud noises are managed by people that are having issues with it, rather than setting strict guidelines within the development order. And I think that, you know, this tourist district has a number of adjacencies between both residential, overnight transient uses and restaurant and even some bar uses. So it's what makes up that area. So it's a challenge. But I know that this has come up many, many times before in the same capacity. I wouldn't, you know, Mr. Flannery, I agree with you that it's nice to be able to control it, but I think that the better way to try to control it, if anything, is just through the attempts that are started, which is a sound wall, something that can deflect sound and keep it from potentially going directly to the neighbor and within reason. And then obviously the neighbor has the right to create additional sound barriers if the sound is an issue for them on their side. So just my 2 cents on it and what I've seen happen before.
We also have comments, we're closing remarks from the applicant. So before we go into full board comments on it, is there anybody have any questions of staff? There being none, closing remarks by the applicant? We need to unmute her mic. There we go.
I just want to make a couple of comments addressing the issues that have been brought up. And again, you know, the key point here is the sound wall, as Jordan had mentioned. And, you know, we're going to work, and my guess is we're going to raise that because I think we want to raise that. And so it's most likely going to be, you know, in the probably 7-foot range, 8-foot range. But again, as we develop the plans, that will be certainly a focus of ours. And then additionally, just addressing the height issue, the building and the covering on the rooftop deck is way below what is allowed in that area. So with that said, I'm going to ask Kevin Hazlett to finish off with a few more closing remarks. And thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Afternoon, Kevin Hazlett. I'm Frank's friend and business partner and fishing buddy, so that's why I'm here. Just briefly, I want to speak to the folks that had some concerns, because we spoke about that leading up to this meeting, about the concerns, especially of the Clearwater Suites Hotel. Initial plan was 5 feet. I think that we were open, certainly, as Roberta said, to raise that. Our goal is to be a good neighbor. We also rely on Google reviews for our success, as you all do. And I think being a good neighbor is supporting each other. Our goal, as we said, is our application is to downgrade from a nightclub to a family restaurant. The purpose of the restaurant is to give us seating outside. As Frank said earlier, we've got a lot of patrons that come to the business that if the outside patio is full, they go on, they don't eat. And many people going forward, despite what the governor is doing to try to help local businesses, many people are reluctant to eat in places that are inside. So this will be an outside eating area. If the idea that this is a raucous bar, it's not what it's going to be. That's not what the design is. Right now, our hours are such that as the clientele demands it, and usually that's by 9, rarely by 10. That's the clientele. We don't expect our clientele to change. We're not a brown boxer. We're not a Rockaway. We're a family restaurant, and we've been in existence for almost a year and 6 months. And we think we've been a good neighbor. So I think all the concerns that I think the Clearwater Suites has, we can address, and Roberta is going to design something in a sound wall that will absorb that sound. And I think we can meet all the goals. And also, as to Mr. Waltz, as far as they're concerned, next door at the Sand Pearl, I think we'll also do that as well. So I think we can design something that will make sense and be a good neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions of the applicant on their closing remarks? Not seeing any. Then that will close the public hearing portion. And we're going to proceed now with our discussion and vote. Do any board members want to chime in on this, or does somebody have a motion for us to consider and do our discussion as part of the motion?
No discussion, I'll make a motion. I move to approve case number 1 based on the evidence and testimony presented in the application, the staff report, and today's hearing, and hereby adopt the findings of fact and conclusions of law stated in the staff report with conditions of approval as listed.
Mary Lau, second.
We have a motion made and seconded. Do we have any discussion amongst the board members on the motion?
We have a question. We have a question from from adjacent property owners if they can provide closing remarks. I didn't know the answer to that.
That's not part of the process. The only persons with party status can provide closing remarks as the applicant and the city. Those are the 3 as far as our procedures. Jay, am I correct in that regard?
Yes, you are. Sorry, I can't unmute.
Thank you, Jay. So that's not really part of the process. I appreciate, though. I would encourage them to have ongoing conversations with the applicant, of course, and see how that goes from there. Unless there's anybody else, as far as the board goes now, we have our motion. We have the second on the motion. Is there any discussion on it?
Yeah, I have a question, Mike. Can you hear me? Gina, I don't know if you could answer to this. On that external, can you hear me all right?
Okay, here.
If you can hear me all right, make sure I'm unmuted here. Do we have anything in the code or in the review regarding the sound wall there as far as an architectural element on the external side of it?
It's my understanding that wall will be attached to the building, so it will be an extension of the building. We don't have any regulations per se for something like that.
Any other questions of any other discussion amongst the board? There being none, then I'm gonna go ahead and do a roll call vote on this. I'll go one by one. Please say yes or no in terms of we're in favor or approved, whichever way you want to state it so it's clear what your vote is. First is Vice Chair Manaskevich.
Yes.
Okay. Brian Barker,
Yes.
Jordan Behar,
Yes.
Mike Flannery,
Yes.
Mary Lau,
Yes.
John Quattrocki,
Yes.
and I am abstaining. The motion passes unanimously with one abstention. That concludes the hearing on this particular matter for today. There are no level 3 cases. And continuing on with our meeting, there is a director's item on our agenda.
Actually, we've had a delay in what we had planned to present to you. I do want to just say that sorry for the confusion over whether we were in person or Zoom today. We do have definitive direction from the governor that as of November 1st, our meetings will be back in the public setting in person, so we can anticipate next month's meeting to be in person. So.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I guess we'll have an update on the complete streets next time around. All right, I think that concludes all of our business for today. Thank you, everybody, for appearing both in person and by Zoom. And that concludes today's meeting. We're adjourned.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.